I'm hyped about today's show. I'm hyped. First of all, I saw college football. I saw USC this weekend. I saw Notre Dame this weekend. I saw Alabama this weekend. And, of course, I saw the Georgia Bulldogs, okay? Not so much high on Clemson right now. But there's a lot of college football I could get into, except I got distracted. And guess what? It wasn't about politics. It wasn't about the NFL. It wasn't even by the NBA, okay? I got distracted by women's NBA basketball, as in the WNBA, because that girl, Caitlin Clark, Lord have mercy, she busting people you know what. She busting people you know what. Y'all didn't think that I was just going to let that slide after all the noise and the chirping that was in my ear over supporting this young lady, did you? Oh, if you thought I had something to say before, wait until you hear me speak now. The Stephen A. Smith Show in the house. Holla at your boy about the ladies. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful Labor Day weekend. I hope you're going to enjoy this Labor Day. I know I'm enjoying it. One of the biggest reasons is that my subscribers, my followers have now eclipsed 772,000 over the digital airwaves of YouTube. Can't thank y'all enough for the love and support. And, of course, we've eclipsed over 2.5 million downloads over iHeartRadio over the last couple of months as well. The love and the support keeps on coming, keeps on growing. This show is nothing without y'all. I thank y'all so much from the bottom of my heart. I'm just getting more and more hyped, more and more energized, more and more fervent about doing this show on an everyday basis, one I own and operate, and so obviously it's near and dear to my heart. Can't thank y'all enough for the love and support. Keep it coming, and I'm going to keep on coming. I got a lot of stuff to get into, but the first order of business is to get started with the WNBA, where the league is making headlines like never before in its 27-year history. There have been 3 players this season who've been box office. We know about Asia Wilson. Okay, let's get that out the way. 2-time MVP of the Las Vegas Aces, the best player in the world right now. She's about to set a single-season points per game scoring record, averaging 27.5 points, y'all. Surpassing Diana Taurasi's 25.3 points per game, set back in 2006. That's one person. The others, you know the names. Angel Reese, the Chicago Sky forward, just set the league record for the most rebounds in a season, surpassing a mark set by Sylvia Fowles in 2018. Reese broke the record in just 32 games, so give her love and support. And last but not least is, of course, Caitlin Clark, who just led the Indiana Fever to an above 500 record for the first time in 5 years. By the way, she's the second leading scorer at 23.4 points per game over the last 12 games. The Indiana Fever owned the WNBA record for most consecutive games under 500, by the way, with 189 until recently, of course, the other day. Now the team is setting WNBA attendance records with over 500,000 fans over their first 33 games this season. Some have compared Caitlin Clark to Tiger Woods and how she's revolutionized fan engagement in women's basketball. Overall attendance, in case you missed it, is up by 20%, breaking TV viewership ratings and merchandise sales. Either way you slice it, it's clear that we're witnessing a golden era in the sport. Caitlin Clark, what'd I tell y'all? Now, I understand there's a whole bunch of people that's balling. How about Custody Mitchell, her teammate, who is just flat out balling? You see what the Ace is doing, right? See, Kelsey, you just see this. Plum and the rest of the crew in Las Vegas can't ignore them. I'm looking at the New York Liberty. I'm looking at the Minnesota Lynx. I'm looking at the Connecticut Sun. I'm looking at Seattle. I'm looking at all of these teams. But they ain't the story. Look, we appreciate what they bring to the table, and we appreciate their greatness, and we appreciate what they're giving the fans. But we just have to understand that when a transformational figure enters the fray, you got to pause and then isolate and compartmentalize and give them the love that they're due. And in this case, it belongs to Caitlin Clark. Rookie of the Year race is over. She ended that Friday night. Not that she wasn't in the league to begin with, but she ended that Friday night when she dropped 31 on the Chicago Sky when they were blowing them out. Okay? She ended that Friday night. Angel Reese and her Chicago Sky, who, by the way, in 11-19 and about 8 games below 500, even though they're still tied for the 7th seed in the playoffs or what have you. We'll see what happens with that. But Angel Reese is no longer a Rookie of the Year potential winner. That's over. It's going to Caitlin Clark. Let's get that out the way. Did you know that Caitlin Clark is also in the conversation for league MVP? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? I tried to tell y'all. You understand what I'm saying? We got the babyface assassin in men's basketball with Steph Curry. They might say that about her before all is said and done, because she pulls up from the parking lot as well. Okay, this is what Caitlin Clark brings to the table. Here's what I want y'all to know about some of the stats involving her. Average attendance in the 33 games Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have played this season is at 15,746. That leads the WNBA, okay? Average attendance of WNBA games not involving Caitlin Clark is 8,490. So games that Caitlin Clark plays are averaging 85% more than non-Caitlin Clark games. Just throwing that out there. You need to know. You need to understand these are the kind of things that comes with it, okay? So we got to get that out the way, okay? Then you got the Fever leading the WNBA in home attendance, 16,978, road attendance, 14,838. Indiana's outdrawing every other team by 35% at home and 36% on the road, okay? We know what she did at the WNBA All-Star game. They averaged like 3.4 million viewers on ABC. That All-Star week. I mean, come on now. This is Caitlin Clark. This is the Caitlin Clark effect. And so it's time for everybody to stand down. It's time for everybody to admit, Stephen A., you were right. You were right, Stephen A. Caitlin Clark should have been on Team USA. Should have been on Team USA. And we also write about the fact that there's been some haterade being thrown in her direction. Okay? Because there's no excuse to have resentment towards her. And see, we don't want to address the big elephant in the room, but we ain't going to run from it today because Sheryl Swoopes made news. Now, she made news last week when she sat up there and was applauding Indiana Fever players, but then forgot to mention Caitlin Clark. She jumped all in my ass because I sat up there and said, hey, how you going to ignore Caitlin Clark? You know what she brings to the table. How you just going to ignore her? That's not an accident. Sheryl Swoopes is a champion. A champion. Look at her tweet and what she put up about me. You talk about whomever and whatever you want to on your podcast, correct? So why can't I? Also, did you listen to the entire episode? Nope. I have a personal relationship with these players, and they deserve recognition as well. That ain't the point, Sheryl Swoopes. Yes, I did listen to your entire podcast. You didn't mention Caitlin Clark. So I was right, number one. Number two, your personal relationship, what that got to do with your coverage? Ain't nobody said don't mention them. Ain't nobody said don't applaud them. Nobody told you to ignore them. What we're saying is if you're going to give the Indiana Fever all the credit in the world, how you going to mention the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark's name even coming up? So then after that, Sheryl Swoopes engages in levels of immaturity. There's no way to slice it. I'm not going to insult this champion, this great basketball mind, this phenomenally accomplished Hall of Famer. I'm not going to insult her. All I'm going to say is it was pretty damn immature to come back at me like that. Called me an effing coward because I called you out for not doing your job. So you on a podcast, that means you don't have to do your job? I mean, the bottom line is this. She engaged in a level of immaturity. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, to just bite at me like that. Oh, why? Because what did I say? What did I say? You want to know what I said? Take a look at what I said last week about Sheryl Swoopes. Respectfully, Sheryl Swoopes, you have any idea how that makes you look? You have any idea how that serves to stain any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark, because that gives fodder to those who believe she's being hated on and ostracized to some degree? Do you realize that, Sheryl Swoopes, you're insane to do that? Let me tell you why you're insane to do that. Because Sheryl Swoopes, you're one of the greatest players ever in the history of basketball. That's why. See, you won a championship in college at Texas Tech. You won 3 Olympic gold medals. You won 4 WNBA championships. You know basketball. You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out of that soliloquy that you dropped about the Indiana Fever. Stop it. You know that. Stop it. I mean, listen, the bottom line is this. There's a whole bunch of reasons that I'm quite sure Sheryl Swoopes could come up with. Who can imagine that she's got stuff on her mind? Lord knows what she's got on her mind and what she wants to express. I get all of that. People can speculate till the cows come home about what that is, but one thing that's undeniable is that she seems to get offended with her objectivity being questioned, her professional objectivity. The problem is she's the one that brought her professional objectivity into focus by her own behavior. What possible excuse could you have talking about the Indiana Fever and nary a mention of Caitlin Clark? How is that possible? How's that possible? You know what Indiana was before she arrived. You know what their attendance was before she arrived. You know what merchandise sales was before she arrived. You know what attendance was before she arrived. You know what the ratings were before she arrived. How could you not mention her? It makes no sense. So I can understand why Sheryl Swoopes would have an attitude with people who would question her professional objectivity. But I also understand why people would look at her like she's lost her ever-loving mind. Because you're literally putting the lack of professional objectivity on display for audiences to see, and then you're looking at us acting like what's wrong. It's like you spitting in people's face telling them it's raining. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Okay, everybody, you know what time it is. It's time for Stephen A's Sports Picks. Everyone knows that sports is my entire life. And with the NFL season finally here, I need to be right there in the middle of all that action. But how do I do that exactly? There's only one way. You use Prize Picks. That's what you do. You see, Prize Picks is the largest fantasy sports platform in all the land with more than 3 million members. You just choose 2, 3, or even up to 6 players and then pick more or less on their projected stats for the game. But the best part is you can pick and choose players from any of the sports you love to watch, whether it's Christian McCaffrey, Caitlin Clark, or even Paul Skeens. And get this, sign up with code SAS and Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't need to win your lineup to receive the $50 bonus. It's all guaranteed. All you have to do is play a $5 lineup on Prize Picks and you'll get $50 instantly. Now, let's see my winning picks, please, because I'm all about winning. Patrick Mahomes playing the Baltimore Ravens, more or less than 265.5 passing yards. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Travis Kelce. It's Xavier Worthy out of Texas. It's Andy Reid calling plays. And you're going up against the Baltimore Ravens team that I can't see you running the football against. Okay, Pacheco, yes, but I can't see you running the football against the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to go with more than 265.5 yards for Patrick Mahomes because he's going to have to throw that football to win this game. Let's go to Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens playing these Kansas City Chiefs, more or less than 1.5 pass, rush, receiving TDs. He's Lamar Jackson. Whether it's rushing the football or throwing the football, the brother is going to get touchdowns, at least 1 or 2. I don't think this is going to be a repeat of the AFC Championship game. I think after that performance, I think he's going to show up and show out. It's a regular season game. They're going to be experimenting, getting their feet wet, et cetera, et cetera. I can see Lamar Jackson scoring at least 2 touchdowns or at least throwing for 1 and running for another. I'm going to go with more on this one, too. Let's go to the next one. Travis Kelce, the best tight end in football, going up against the Baltimore Ravens, more or less than 61.5 receiving yards. It's Travis Kelce. My brother from another mother. Always open somehow, some way. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how. He doesn't look that fast or anything like that. He's not slow, but he doesn't look that fast. But he's always open. I'm going with more here because he's Travis Kelce. It's just that simple, all right? Last but not least, the newest member of the Baltimore Ravens, Derrick Henry, coming over from Tennessee. His first year with the Ravens, playing the Chiefs, more or less than 67.5 rushing yards. Now, I'm never going to bet against this brother getting 67.5 yards. I mean, he's a monster out of the running back spot. Monster. And I can't believe the Dallas Cowboys didn't get him. They should have got him, okay? But the Baltimore Ravens got him instead. And as a result, I think they're going to package him and they're going to use him tremendously so because that takes a lot of heat and pressure off of Lamar Jackson, which is what the Baltimore Ravens are going to want to do. I see more. So to recap, let's go down the list. We got Patrick Mahomes. We got Lamar Jackson. We got Travis Kelce. And we got Derrick Henry. More, and more is Prize Picks. And more, as in more money. Did you really expect any less from me? Listen, I could go on and on about this. I really, really could. But you know what? Why? Why do that? When there's a better person to talk to about what I believe is the golden era of the WNBA. And by the way, there's no one better than this woman. to talk to about it because she's done it all in the sport of women's basketball. She's a basketball Hall of Famer, an Olympian, a 3-time All-American, former coach for the Detroit Shock, and currently serves as an NBA analyst for the OKC Thunder. She's also the 2018 champion head coach with the power in the Big Three. You know that league Ice Cube runs. Please welcome my guest, known as Lady Magic herself, the one, the only, Nancy Lieberman. Welcome, Nancy. Let's get right to it. You did an outstanding job covering Sunday's Indiana Fever's win over the Dallas Wings. I call this the golden era of the WNBA. First things first, would you agree with that?
I agree 100%. This is what we all dreamed about, and it's actually happening in real time. And today's players are absolutely phenomenal. The W is the most valued women's league, in my opinion, in the world right now.
In college, Caitlin Clark was named the winner of the Nancy Lieberman Point Guard of the Year 2 years in a row, if I remember correctly. I want to play something you said during the broadcast. Listen to this.
You know, when I walked in here before the game, there were just hundreds of fans lined up.
Oh, yeah.
What Caitlin Clark has done for the game is generational, and I just, as a baller to a baller, I just want to say thank you to you, Caitlin Clark.
Absolutely.
For just lifting our game up, you and so many great players. But what you're doing, you're going to make all these women multimillionaires one day, like Tiger did, like Michael Jordan did. And we shouldn't hate on her. We should celebrate her, not tolerate her.
You know, Nancy, I listened to that sound, and that was one of the biggest reasons I wanted you on today, because you clearly feel such a level of appreciation for the greatness, for the potential and the greatness that we're witnessing from Caitlin Clark. I want you to speak to why that is and whether or not you feel she's being appreciated enough by some members in the female basketball community.
Well, I think you bring up a great point. It's so important for us to understand that there's going to be generational players. I'm not saying everybody's not going to be at the same talent level, but I'm saying that Caitlin Clark has just caught the attention of the world. She might be right now, maybe her and Simone Biles, the most visible women athletes in the world right now. And this is a good thing for sports. And internally, we can be women. We could be our worst enemies. We should embrace people who take us to another level. And she's done that, and it's proven from her collegiate days with TV, with jersey sales, with arenas being filled. Why wouldn't you want to ride that train to success? Because it will change your tax bracket, incrementally because of what she's doing. And there's so many great players like A'ja Wilson. She's my unanimous MVP in this league. I don't think there's a player in the world right now better than A'ja Wilson. And we got great rookies. Angel Reese just, broke this incredible rebounding record, single season in WNBA history. These young players, Rakia Jackson, Carmela Cardoza. I mean, this is a great time. But it's the veterans and the youth. We have to come together because everybody has a hand in our growth. And, as good as some of the, we didn't move the needle like Caitlin is moving the needle, and everybody is benefiting from it.
You know, Nancy, I've been bringing this up for months, and I've been taking hits for months because I wanted her on Team USA, and I was not trying to say that she was better than any of the 12 players that was on the squad. What I was saying is that female basketball, women's basketball has been starving for recognition for so long. All the hard work, all the tremendous effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that so many of these wonderful ladies have put into the game, including yourself, by the way, and the lack of recognition that has come along with it. Here was a person that America had gravitated to in such a way that you could utilize it to your advantage to benefit everybody. Yet folks were appalled that I would dare have the temerity to bring up marketing and promotion as something that should play a role in ultimately you deciding who's on Team USA to promote the game of basketball. Was I wrong in feeling that way?
Well, they came at you really hard, and that was short-sighted because, first of all, she very well could have played and should have played. In my opinion, I align with you on Team USA. I'm saying this, as you know, I'm still the youngest Olympic basketball player ever. In 1976, I was a high school senior. I was 17 years old. And the late Billy Moore, the Hall of Famer, my coach, she had one pick, and she picked me for the future of the game because she knew the last player who was a great and All-American, just a star of stars, wouldn't get a lot of minutes. So she used that position, and I thought that this team could have used Caitlin Clark for that same express reason, because she was going to bring more eyeballs. She was going to make USA basketball, more prominent. And we're talking about economics here. We're not just talking about,
Right.
because. We're talking about, we want long-term, sustainability and success. We can't sit there and say we want what the NBA guys have, 70 something years later. They've built it to, that $8 billion a year business. And we're trying to build it now. And we have somebody who's moving the needle, because the W right now is outdrawing Major League Baseball, some, soccer, some of the golf, some of the other sports. We've never had this before. And for Caitlin and the Fever, I think 5 of the highest rated games this year have all been Indiana Fever. They lead in jersey sales. They lead in attendance. Any significant category that's tied to dollars and cents. And that's how we should be viewed, dollars and cents, because that's how you build a business. Then everybody goes up and everybody is successful together.
Explain what specifically you believe the issue is with Caitlin Clark in terms of the lack of support that she's received from some. Certainly not most, not all. Most people support her. They see her potential. They see her greatness. They see what she's done for the game. There's a level of appreciation. Even the great Dawn Staley, in winning the national championship, she thanked Caitlin Clark for what Caitlin Clark did for the game of for women's basketball or whatever. But there's been a small cadre of individuals that obviously have come across in a different fashion. What is the thing that you're hearing, Nancy, as to what their justification for feeling a bit reticent about throwing that lack of that support in Caitlin Clark's direction?
Well, it depends who you're talking to. If you're talking about the keyboard warriors who hide behind, 280, taps of their
Characters,
iPhone,
yep,
or whatever they're using, they're going to say something that, first of all, they don't even realize that the players in this league are friends with one another. Okay. So you might sit there and try to create this animosity, or you might try to bring in, racism in this. And, there's no racism. You and I've been through this for a long time. I never came down the court and looked at somebody white or black and threw the ball to the white kid. I'm throwing it to the player who's the better player. They're trying to pit Angel and Caitlin against each other. They're friends, by the way. They're
right,
helping grow the sport. And for those who, it's not a Caitlin thing, it's a people thing. I mean, people were so jealous of Michael Jordan back in 1984 when he came out of, UNC. Chicago Stadium was half empty prior to him arriving. Then the stadiums were filling up. Then TV wanted him and the Bulls on every game. By the way, this as a fact. David Falk, his agent, pulled his jersey out of the GLA because Michael Jordan's jersey, and I don't know the exact number, but let's say it was 90% of all jersey sales were Michael Jordan's jersey, and he was getting like 1/1300th of that, and all the money was being, dispersed throughout all the players that were playing. He yanked his out because he saw the value of what was happening. Tiger Woods goes to the PGA, changes how the sport is viewed. It's not just a bunch of, white guys hitting balls in an elitist sport. It's changed. I mean, look at all the guys of color, women of color that play golf now because it's acceptable. You should be able to do what you love, but it was him who is the catalyst to change. And all of a sudden he gets to a certain point in his career and people are jealous and envious. He changed the TV ratings. He changed the purses. Did Scotty just win $25 million the other day? That's not because of Scotty. That's because of Tiger Woods. And I just don't understand people. Now you have signature shoes for both men and women because of what MJ did and how he and his team constructed business. Caitlin is doing that right now, and she should be supported and not maligned for that.
Kelsey Mitchell has been a star on the Indiana Fever. There is no doubt about that. She has been nothing short of sensational. She's averaging about 19 points per game. She had a big-time game yesterday, which you called. And I just wanted to throw this out there just as a reference point, just to put things in perspective about what Caitlin Clark brings to the table. The average attendance in the 33 games Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have played in this season is 15,746, which leads the WNBA. The average attendance of WNBA games not involving Caitlin Clark is on average 8,490, an 85% drop from games that Caitlin Clark is not participating in. Obviously, the New York Liberty average over 11,000. The Los Angeles Sparks average over 10,000. But the Indiana Fever at 15,746. Yet I'm on the air the other day, and I'm talking about the Indiana Fever, and I had to get on, somebody we both have incredible respect for, in Sheryl Swoopes. You're a champion on every level, one of the greatest players in WNBA history. Because I said, how do you mention the Indiana Fever and all of these other players, and you don't mention Caitlin Clark? And then all of a sudden she gets on me and calls me a coward and all of this other stuff. I don't know what you can say about Sheryl Swoopes, but if there's anything that you could say, what would you want to say in terms of the narrative that has been put out there as it pertains to her coverage and her feelings about Caitlin Clark?
I've known Sheryl since she was in college. I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first ESPYs. I've known Sheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa, and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that there was this quote by Sheryl that said, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were illegitimate. And I got off the treadmill and I called her as a friend. And I said, you can say whatever you want. You can have your own opinion about anybody. But you do have to get the statistics right. I mean, facts matter. And if you just get ahead of this and just say, hey, I made a mistake on my numbers, then this thing is over and everybody respects you for your opinion. And, you might like Boston. I might like the Yankees. It's okay to have difference of opinions. Well, she got upset with me on the phone. And I was like, Sheryl, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. I'm just sharing. We're talking. And so our relationship, it pretty much is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four. Right. She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good or great with or without Sheryl Swoopes in my life. I'd rather have her in it. But let me tell you the difference. Right. The difference is when the Kennedy Carter thing happened, and I'm doing Michelle Beadle's podcast with Lou Williams and Chandler Parsons. And Michelle says to me, Nancy, what would you tell Caitlin Clark in that situation? And I said to Michelle, look, I'm not here to speak for Caitlin Clark. I'm not going to tell you that. Then she said, what would you do if somebody kind of blindsided you like that? And me, I'm straight from New York, straight from Rucker Park. I said, I would have gotten up. I would have walked up to whoever did that to me. I would have punched him in the face. And the expletive that I used. And I would have said, F off. That is who I am. That is the concentric circle of who I am. And that's my era. And so to her point, Teresa Weatherspoon called me, my dear friend who I love, respect, and admire. She said, Nancy, I was disappointed what you said. And we had a conversation. And I said, Spoon, I didn't say she should punch Kennedy Carter in her face. I said, this is what I would do if I were blindsided. And I've known Kennedy since she was in high school here in Dallas. I think she's a hell of a player and should have been on the All-Star team.
She is.
But my comment about hitting her wasn't about her. But we had this conversation, which we apparently cannot have with me and Sheryl Swoopes. And I still think she was incorrect. about what she did. And, we all have to be professional, right? You cover people, right? You and Durant have kind of gone at it in and out for a little
Right.
bit, but you still do highlights and talk about him and share the
Yes.
greatness of
Yeah.
him. You don't have to agree with everything with him,
Yeah.
but just do
He's a
your
great guy.
job. Do
Right.
your job. You get paid to do a job as a broadcaster. Do your job. Nobody says you have to be in love with anybody else, but if you're going to do an Indiana Wings game, you're going to have to talk about Caitlin Clark and her great teammates and what they're doing. And they have, Aaliyah Boston. They have, Kelsey Mitchell, who's just bananas. I mean, unstoppable, by the
Yes,
way.
she is.
And Caitlin Clark. So why would you not build around it? When I was playing, you would have looked like an idiot if you didn't, when you talked about Old Dominion, two-time national champions and two-time player of the year, and you
Well,
didn't talk about me. You'd look like you're
and that's
ignorant.
the issue. And that's the issue, Nancy, because listen, and here's the thing. What incriminates, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but what incriminates somebody like Sheryl Swoopes even more, who, by the way, was supposed to be calling the game with y'all yesterday, and she did not call the game. And no doubt it had something to do with the fact that when, how Caitlin Clark had performed early in the week, she didn't want to talk about it at all. So we recognize that, and we know in television the way that I do. I know what producers do. I know what bosses do when you see, your personal feelings, whatever they may be, infiltrating the proceedings and compromising your position as a professional. But I think in the case of Sheryl Swoopes, and I'm not going to belabor this point, but it's important to be made. Sheryl Swoopes is a winner. She was great, and she's a phenomenal basketball mind. So what she's not realizing is that when she doesn't state the obvious, it's automatically going to be assumed that it's something personal, because we know the basketball game, the game of basketball, too well to ignore the kind of things that she's ignoring when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're not wrong in saying that. And I would like to thank the Wings and Bally's for putting me on the game and asking me if I would do it. I will do anything for women's basketball. I'm just a servant leader here. At one point in my career, I wanted to be the greatest of all time. And now I just want to be a great, person that supports this generation of greatness. So to your point, I think she created this firestorm. She could put it out. And, it's like I always tell people at this stage, your ego's not your amigo. Okay. Your ego's not your friend. We have to humble ourselves and do our job and just recognize that, Caitlin might not be her cup of tea, but she's not doing anything to hurt Sheryl Swoopes. She admires Sheryl Swoopes and the Maya Moores and the Sue Birds and the legends that came before her. And I would dare say you can't find a soundbite this season of Caitlin Clark saying anything derogatory about anybody. She says, I don't care that she chatters on the court.
Class.
Who doesn't? Yeah, the great ones chattered, Bird, Magic, all of them. It's okay. That's a competitor. But, for this woman, to be maligned, you shouldn't. You don't have to buy the number 22 jersey if you don't want it. But what you should do is applaud her for helping grow this sport that we have busted our ass for the last 50 years. My Olympic team in 76 just got inducted last August. Some of my teammates thought they were going to die and never get recognized for being the first Olympic women's team. Julene Simpson, who was a co-captain with Pat Summitt on that team. The people are starting to know who Julene, people knew who Pat Summitt was, or Nancy Lieberman, or Ann Myers, but they didn't know who Lucy was until Lucy died. And Trish Roberts and Sue Roycewicz. And we had so many great players on that team. We just want to be recognized. And when the young players of today recognize, the pioneers of the game, it's a thank you. And the pioneers and today's athlete should be saying to Angel Reese and to, Asia and to, Jackie Young and all these great players, thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you for winning that gold medal. Thank you for busting your behind on behalf of America. And we stand and support you. But if you have a legend who's coming at a young player on the rise, it's not a good look. And Caitlin didn't start this, and I know Caitlin, she won't finish it. She'll just play ball. That's who she is.
Oh, I got a lot more. I love what you just said, Nancy, and I appreciate that. I got a lot more to get into, but obviously I got sponsors and advertisers. I got bills to pay. We'll be back with more of Nancy Lieberman in a minute. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts and you'll get 10 answers. It's a bull market. It's a bear market. Rates will rise. Rates will fall. Inflation's up. Inflation's down. Can someone invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 38,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next. Whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. Download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning for free at netsuite.com/SAS. That's netsuite.com/SAS. You heard me, netsuite.com/SAS. It pays to get paid on Cash App. Saving doesn't mean letting your money sit there and collect dust. You can deposit your paycheck on Cash App to take advantage of a high-yield savings account. I'm talking about collecting up to 4.5% interest on your cash at no cost, because sometimes it's the free things that bring you the most joy in life, like a backyard cookout with family and friends, volunteering at your community center, going for a walk. How about that? So deposit your paycheck on Cash App, and no, you will not be paying a cent in fees on your savings to watch your money grow. It pays to get paid on Cash App. That's money. That's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or the Google Play Store today. I want to take just a few seconds to make sure everyone knows out there. It's the first week of the NFL season, and I couldn't be more excited. I've been waiting for this for months, obviously, as all of you have as well. You know why? Because the best part is that Prize Picks has got you covered. That's right. You see, while all these big-time games are happening, Prize Picks is going to make sure you have an opportunity to cash in. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports app where you can select 2 or more of your favorite players and then pick more or less on their projected in-game stats, okay? And it's not just football. Oh, no. It has something for every sport you love to watch, from Major League Baseball to the WNBA to tennis and everything in between. You can pick Mahomes, Angel Reese, and Juan Soto, all in the same entry, y'all. I make my picks and submit early, all in less than 60 seconds. And get this, sign up with code SAS, and Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't need to win your lineup to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do is play a $5 lineup on Prize Picks, and you'll get $50 instantly. So go to prizepicks.com right now. Pick more. Pick less. It really is that easy. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Got to get into more with the one and only Nancy Lieberman right here. I got some more questions, Nancy. I got some more questions. You know, Dallas Wings forward Satou Sabally, she spoke in a post-game press conference about the struggle of seeing their home arena packed with Clark jerseys. Here's what Sabally had to say. Listen to this, quote, "Obviously, it's annoying because there were way too many Caitlin fans in our arena, but kudos. I feel like our Dallas fans could have done better. I had mixed feelings seeing all the Caitlin jerseys in our home, but it's an amazing sign for women's basketball." See, I have no problem with that, Nancy. That's perfectly fine. And then Chicago Sky's Angel Reese is also doing her thing. Talk about her record-setting season, record-setting rookie year as well. I mean, I want you to comment about Sabally first. And you heard what she had to say. I had no problem with her quote because she's acknowledging and appreciating Caitlin Clark, but in the same breath saying she wished their fans had better supported them. Well, maybe you got to win more, and maybe they will. But I still don't have a problem with her quote. What about you?
Well, first, let me just say this. Thank you for bringing that up and reading the quote. Satou is a very, very close friend of mine. I have been on the court practicing with her and Enrique in the off season. These are two of the most unbelievable, intelligent, hardworking players. She was first team all WNBA last year, played for Germany in the Olympics in Paris. And she's just telling the truth. She's saying, man, this is amazing what's happening. This is what I get from her, having known her, and saying, we want this. I'm a great player. Arike is unstoppable, as you saw. Natasha, Howard is one of those great veteran players. Okay, now you saw this. Now, Dallas Wings fans, we want you in the seats with our jerseys. And it's a communication. Communication is 360. You say something to your fans, and hopefully your fans respond. Dallas Wings fans are amazing, and they will respond, and they will show up and show out. And I applaud Satu for saying, look, I get it, but now I want it. And why shouldn't we want it in our own home arena? And that's just great communication, and that's why I love and admire her.
Indiana is outdrawing every other team by 35% at home and 36% on the road. Chicago's Angel Reese is second in the WNBA. Obviously, Angel Reese's Chicago Sky team is second in the WNBA with an average road attendance of 10,929. That's one stat. The other is, as of 1 week ago, 20 WNBA telecasters averaged 1 million viewers, shattering the previous record of 15 for a season. Caitlin Clark was featured in 17 of those 20 televised games. That's her impact. I know for a fact the Rookie of the Year race is over. Caitlin Clark is going to win that. But what do you have to say about Angel Reese and what she's meant to the WNBA game thus far this year as a rookie?
Well, I've watched Angel Reese at LSU. I mean, she's a problem. This woman she just broke the record. She has a motor like I have not seen before. And I know a lot of people, well, she's getting, her own rebounds. I mean, cut it out. Okay. She's not the biggest player on the court. She's not the fastest player on the court. She's tenacious. She is doing her job. And as she gains more experience in the league, and she was working on her 3-point shot in her off season, she's going to just continue to explode, get bigger, better, even more greater than she is right now. And I think people need to leave her alone and just appreciate her for who she is and how she has played this game. And just because somebody has a quiet disposition and somebody has a little bit more flair in their disposition doesn't make anybody wrong. I enjoy watching her. I love that she's being coached right now by Teresa Weatherspoon. I mean, Spoon was pounding her chest, right, in the Garden with the Liberty. You saw that for many, many years when she hit the half-court shot, against Houston, to push it to a game 5, I believe. It's okay to have personality, and she has personality plus. She's gorgeous. She looks like a model. She just defies everything you want to say about her. So I think people, again, should stop pigeonholing people. Just wake up happy. Just for all the new fans, just love this game. For the older fans that have been waiting for this, just say thank you. This is what we've been waiting for, packed houses. We've been waiting for Stephen A to have us on our show and talk about us on the regular. We've been waiting for the media to recognize that we are skilled and people do want to see us and how you push for us. And thank you to all the men out there that every job I've ever had, I've been hired by a man. So thank you to you, Stephen A, for, caring so much in controversial and, quite frankly, in non-controversial moments. I've known you forever. You've always been there. You've never held anybody back. All you do is lift people up. We need that, by the way. We're not there yet, but we need that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I really appreciate it. I love you to death. Let me ask you this question. I don't think there's a debate about A'ja Wilson being the best player in the world. I don't think there's a debate about her winning the MVP this year. Although I would say Caitlin Clark is in the conversation for league MVP at the very least. But who's the second best player in the world behind A'ja Wilson, in your estimation?
Ooh, that's a great question. We had on the telecast yesterday, I believe that Asia Wilson, who I agree with you, she's the best player clearly in the world. Um, she's done things that I don't think I've ever seen. I don't even want to call her a big. She's just a great baller. She can shoot, she can pass. She's a two-way player. She could win
She's a
Defensive Player of
warrior.
the Year award. She is a warrior, and to a point. And I'm going to get to the end of your question. When you talk to Becky Hammond will say, if it's somebody's birthday on the team, the first person who's running out to get balloons and hats and cards and all the ribbons and all that stuff is Asia Wilson. She just has this ability. And Dawn has told me this also. And I love Dawn Staley, talking about a legend on
Yes,
the court
a
and on the
legend.
sidelines. She goes, this is the most incredibly kind human being, but a warrior on the court. Her teammates love her because of how she is. You can count on her. If somebody says that they count on you in life, that's the highest compliment you can have. So we have her.
Absolutely.
We already nailed that. I believe she's going to be unanimous for the first time in the history of the W. Nafisa Collier, she's amazing. She just kicked butt at the Olympics. I knew, and I've watched her, and she's just taken her game to another level. The same thing, with Sabrina and SQ. I mean, now she's attacking the rim more than she ever had. You knew she could shoot the basketball, high IQ, in better condition. Talked about,
What about
Caitlin
Brianna
Clark.
Stewart? What about Brianna Stewart?
Yeah, no, I'm getting to it.
Okay,
My friend.
I'm sorry.
You got to let
Okay.
older women speak. No, I'm only kidding.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me go to Caitlin. We already talked about her. She is in that grouping. I got to be honest, Arike is in that grouping right now. She's unstoppable. If this team were to be able to get to the playoffs, Arike is certainly in that conversation. And Stewie, I don't know who's been able to stop Stewie since UConn. Right? 4 championships, which is unbelievable in college. You go to the W, you win. I think she's got 3 or 4 championships. Somebody help me here. With Seattle. And, the Liberty are right on the cuff of being able to win a championship, which they've never won. And they're one of the original teams in this league. Alyssa Thomas, who's with Connecticut. People don't, she's like so underrated, and I don't know how an Olympian could be underrated. She was in the mix last year for Player of the Year, MVP. She doesn't do anything fancy. She's big, she's strong, she can do everything. She's like a Swiss knife. She just makes people around her better. She's a great passer, defender, knocking down shots. To win, you got to have somebody like her on the team. So there's a lot of people in this mix.
Brianna Stew's got 2 NBA, WNBA titles with the Seattle Storm, 2018 and 2020. I just looked that up just to make sure I confirm that. So she's got 2. But let me ask you this. I've been saying of the mindset, because of the greatness of an Asia Wilson, because of Kelsey Plum and others, and because of the greatness of their coach, I've been of the mindset, I don't care what I'm seeing from the New York Liberty. I love them. I'm a New Yorker. I'm always rooting for them. The New York Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx. So I don't care. You bring me Seattle, Minnesota, New York. I don't care. You can't convince me that somebody's going to beat Las Vegas until I see it because of Asia Wilson. That's how I feel. Where are you about that? Are they three-peating, or do you have somebody in mind that you believe is going to knock them off?
I certainly think they can three-peat. I came in and spent a couple of days in training camp with Becky and watched how they prepared and how they played. Look, Sandy Brondel's an unbelievable coach. What she's done for the Olympic team in Australia when she was playing. Matter of fact, you probably didn't know this, Stephen A. I drafted Sandy Brondello to play for me in 1998 in the WNBA. So I've known Sandy a long, long time. Great mind. Sheryl Reeves won championships. She's amazing. She just won the gold medal. She won championships with the Detroit Shock and Rick Mahorn and Bill Lambier. They're good. And don't forget Connecticut. I mean, Stephanie White, she's tough. She's got DeWanna Bonner. moving up the charts as an all-time leader in so many categories. And we talked about Alyssa Thomas. They're really good teams. So nothing is given. So let me say this about the Aces. I believe that they took this league by storm. And Becky is just done a marvelous job. I think when you're
Becky
that good,
Hammond,
if I were coaching in this league, I would take every one of her offenses and every one of her defenses, and I would dissect it, and I'd put what I liked into my program. And I think a lot of teams have. I think that's the highest compliment when somebody, maybe takes your stuff and tweaks it a little bit. And the league
Right.
is getting better because of these young players. But, Asia was on the Olympic team. Kelsey was on the Olympic team. Jackie Young was on the Olympic team. Chelsea Gray, who to me is one of the best passers in this league. She's unbelievable. And talking about passing the ball ahead. And,
Yep.
the other side of it is, they're coming off. I'm sure they're tired. There's 4 of them that played on the Olympic team. And they had one more of their teammates play for Spain in the Olympics.
Mhm.
So they're a great team, and I fully expect them to be in the mix at the end. If everybody stays healthy, those 4 teams,
Right.
this is going to be a super season for the W, and it already is.
If you had a choice, because I don't know a woman alive that knows more basketball than you. I just don't. I mean, I've met a lot of people that know, but I don't know a woman alive that knows more basketball than you, Nancy. So I'm going to ask you this. You had to select. You're in a position. You got the first pick in the draft, all right? And you have to select between Asia Wilson, Caitlin Clark, Brianna Stewart, or whomever. Who's the first player you're taking? Putting you on the spot, Nancy.
I am taking Asia Wilson. I'm going to build around her because she's going to make me a better defensive coach. She's not going to do anything crazy fancy. You know what? She's like the big fundamental. She's like Tim Duncan. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that a good analogy?
With more intensity.
Yes. And I'm going to build around her, and we'll go from there. I like people who have won championships. She won that certainly, with Dawn at South Carolina, and we'll go from there. That's not to say that the others you just mentioned aren't spectacular, right? That's like saying MJ or LeBron. I mean, they're both great. It's just, what's your flavor?
Got it. Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark, are they the best backcourt tandem in the league?
Whew, right now they are. I mean, it's pretty unstoppable. I mean, these guys are getting almost 55 points a game between them. And I mean, I don't know anybody in the league who's faster than Kelsey Mitchell without the ball. When she catches the ball, she's a blur, and she's unbelievable. And the way she's shooting right now, I mean, don't go under a screen. My thing is KYP. You know what KYP is?
I think so, but I'm not going to say it. I want you to say
No, it's okay. Know your personnel. Know your personnel.
Right.
I've been saying this
Right.
since my first coaching gig. Know your personnel. If you can't catch a bounce pass, don't throw them a bounce pass. If they can't catch it up high, don't throw it up high. Know know who's good and what they do well. These guys between Boston, Clark, and Mitchell, they're learning each other right now. Time's their greatest ally, and I think that the Fever are going to win championships somewhere down the road with this squad.
Right. Nancy, very last question. Looking up a stat, I don't know if you know this or not. You probably do, knowing you, because you don't miss much. Caitlin Clark has personally received 17% of the flagrant fouls called. Literally, she's been fouled on flagrant fouls. 17% of them have been against her personally. We spoke about the Sheryl Swoopes situation. We've spoke about the numbers, the ratings. We've spoken about the resentment that Caitlin Clark has been receiving, not by most, not by all, but by, to be quite honest, too many. If you had your druthers moving forward, looking at the rest of this WNBA season, looking at the state of women's basketball moving forward, what's your wish and what needs to happen in order for your wish to be achieved and fulfilled? Last word is yours.
Well, what you just said is true. 17%, that's five of those fouls of 32 have been on Caitlin Clark. That's where we get the 17% from. And
Got it.
those were earlier in the season. And I think she's passed the physicality test. By the way, pace, space, it will out trump physicality every day of the week. Like when the Mavericks won the championship in 2011 and they had Jason Kidd and they were playing Miami and LeBron. And no matter how good, how fast, how athletic, how high you jump, you can never catch up with the pace of the ball. And right now with this team and what's going on, you can't keep up with the pace of the ball. So I think teams have realized, okay, she didn't cry. She didn't quit. She got up. She shook it off. She hasn't said anything in a press conference. We got to figure out how to guard her now. So I think she passed that test. I don't think there'll be a lot more of those. I would hope that some of these players, the stars in the league, do not get hurt, because they're very important, right? You're only as good as your star players. Star players have to shine. Role players have to be role players. And that's why we have a team. Everybody has a role that they must play. Coaches coach and prepare you, but it's a player's game. I don't shoot anymore. Go ask Ice Cube. When I was coaching in Sacramento with the Kings, and we had Rondo and Rudy Gay and DeMarcus Cousins, we don't shoot shots. It's a player's game. Players determine probability and outcome. It's the greatest thing you could ever do. The next great thing, you coach because you're in the foxhole and you're helping making people better. If you can't do that, you do TV and you hop on the Stephen A. Smith Show. And I love you and I appreciate you. And thank you for having me so much.
The honor has been all mine. You're such a legend, and I can't wait to have you back on when this WNBA playoffs kick off, because if I want basketball analysis, I know where the hell to come and get it. Thank you so much, Nancy. Really appreciate, love you, looking great. It's great to see you, and we will definitely talk soon, okay? You take care of yourself.
You too. Thank you.
The one and only Nancy Lieberman, the Hall of Famer. One of the great basketball minds that exist in this world, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airwaves of YouTube. We got a lot more to get into, make no mistake about that, because obviously she was right about everything. She said there's no reason for me to debate or to pontificate or opine even further than I already have, because Nancy Lieberman just did it for you, okay? I got a lot more stuff to get into. How about some college football? I got to get into that. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. Don't turn the channel. Don't turn your tube, okay? I'm live right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. I mean, I'm live now, but you know by the time you watching, I might not be live. But damn it, I'm always live, because I'm here with you. Back with more of the Stephen A. Smith Show in a minute. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Thanks so much again to the wonderful Nancy Lieberman for being on here with us. But it's time for me to get to some quick hitters from the weekend, starting with the college football season. Brian Kelly and number 13 LSU suffered a shocking loss to 23rd ranked USC and head coach Lincoln Riley. Here's the thing that we have to bring up about Lincoln Riley, because, see, that's why I want to talk about this right here. We can talk all the stuff that we want about Lincoln Riley and the fact that his defense usually suck, okay, because that's the absolute truth, and there's no denying that. I'm not about to sit here and deny that, but I got to tell you, what shocked the living hell out of me was that USC showed up and played some defense. That's what shocked the living hell out of me. Now, I get into LSU in a second, but when I'm thinking about Lincoln Riley and some of the takeaways that I'm going to peel from what I saw transpire watching this game from start to finish last night, this wide receiver, Kyron Hudson, I mean, he had a catch of the year. He's, one would argue with his one-handed first-half grab. That was spectacular to see. Odell Beckham Jr. would have been proud. Of course, in addition to Hudson, you got Deuce Robinson and Jacoby Lane. They showed off their athleticism as well. Hudson led all Trojan pass catchers with 83 receiving yards. Tight end Lake McRee and wide receiver Zachariah Branch both total 56 yards through the air. I got to give credit where credit is due. To me, though, it wasn't about USC's offense. It was about their defense. Now, in case y'all didn't notice or not, I mean, when you look at USC, they were giving away 40 points like they were giving away a bag of cookies last year. They couldn't stop a damn cold. And it had a lot of people, including my buddy Paul Feinbaum at ESPN, saying that this was going to be Lincoln Riley's last year because the man just didn't know what he was doing. So what does Lincoln Riley do? He parts with his longtime collaborator Alex Grinch and replaced him with former UCLA defensive coordinator DeAnton Lynn. And what happens? Their defense goes out there, and they handle their business. I'm looking at it from that standpoint. And I'm also looking at this quarterback, Miller Moss, because anytime you're looking at a Lincoln Riley squad, you got to look at the quarterback because the man has had 3 of the last 7 Heisman Trophy Award winners, okay? And this cat, Miller Moss, comes out there last night, 27 of 36. That's 75% of his passes completed, 378 yards, 1 touchdown, not a single interception. All right, it was a well-balanced passing attack. 6 Trojans had at least 45 receiving yards. I got to give credit where credit is due. This brother's got potential. I like what I'm seeing from him. But the biggest thing for me was the defense. If USC plays defense, things are going to be very interesting in the Big Ten. It's going to be very interesting. If they can play some defense, that's a big-time win. The same can't be said for LSU because Brian Kelly's pounding his arm and his fist on the desk, frustrated that his team doesn't have a killer instinct and they keep walking around like they won something. They were up 17-13, thought they had the game won, et cetera, et cetera. Well, not so fast, Brian Kelly, who I like and respect. 7 straight years he's won at least 10 games. The man can coach. All right, coming from Notre Dame to LSU, the man can coach. But here's the reality of the situation. LSU has now lost 5 straight season openers. 3 of them are Kelly, 0-3. And also LSU has also 1-5 in their last 6 games against AP top 25 opponents, Associated Press top 25 opponents. What's up with that? This is LSU we're talking about here. What the hell is going on? Y'all can't be ready for game 1 of the season? What's going on that campus? Let me ask my man Ryan Clark and Swagoo, Marcus Spears from my day job on ESPN some of these questions. LSU grads, what the hell is going on at LSU that you can't win openers? 5 consecutive opening losses? When you LSU in that program? Come on now, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. And so I just wanted to say that, you Brian Kelly, you got to get together. You got to get it together. Because obviously, with the SEC being what it is, with, Alabama looking the way they look, Georgia, what you want me to say? And speaking of Georgia, let me get to their game against Clemson. The college transfer portal started in 2018. And Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney has yet to receive one single player from it. Well, on Saturday, his team was romped, stomped, beat down by Georgia 34-3. Okay, it was 6-0 in the first half. Got outscored 28-3 in the second half. Led by potential number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, quarterback Carson Beck. Georgia's no joke because they got a quarterback and they got a defense. They're not the story. We knew what to expect from them. They're elite. We know that. I picked them to win the national title personally because I've heard so many great things about this kid Beck. And obviously they've got some weapons. And on the defensive side of the ball, Kirby Smart always has them elite. That's his signature. That's what he does. But let's get to Clemson. I'm starting to get very concerned about Dabo Swinney. I'm starting to wonder about the man. I'm just saying, at some point in time, you got to do something. You can't continue to struggle the way that Clemson has struggled. Clemson was outgained 447 to 189 yards. Okay? This is Clemson's total offense. 76 yards of total offense. 54 passing, 22 rushing, and 2 first downs in the first half. That was Clemson. They only trailed 6-0 despite that. But think about that. 76 total yards of offense in the first half, 54 passing, 22 rushing, and just 2 first downs. That's just embarrassing. And I've always been a fan of Dabo Swinney. I've become very fond of him over the years. I went down to visit him a few times when Deshaun Watson was there, and then Trevor Lawrence was there. The man won national championships in 2016, 2018. They had a 4-year run that was spectacular, but they ain't been in the playoffs since 2020. They've been in the playoffs since 2020. And then to get your ass beat by Georgia the way that they did, it's not looking good. You can't do anything. Come on, Dabo Swinney's got a wonderful personality. And Clemson is a wonderful-looking campus. They got a big-time program. How the hell did you not get anybody from the transfer portal? There's only one explanation for that, Dabo Swinney. It's because you don't really want them that bad. Because his pride, his intestinal fortitude, his principled position is compromising his success as a football coach. Lost 4 games last year. We're not accustomed to seeing Dabo Swinney lose 4 games in the season. So I'm just looking at them right now. We're not accustomed to seeing their offense. And by the way, I don't want to hear about their quarterback position. You know why I don't want to hear about their quarterback? Because where are your receivers? Who are your game breakers? Nobody's getting open. I'm worried about Dabo Swinney. I'm worried about Dabo Swinney. Because I like the man personally, and I don't root against him. I'm worried about Dabo Swinney. I don't know how long he's going to be for this job if he's not willing to adapt to the changing times. Nick Saban said, bump it, I'm retiring. Mike Krzyzewski in basketball basically did the same thing. So did Roy Williams, basketball. At some point in time, we might have to get to a point where we ask Dabo Swinney, is it time? Is it time? Unless he's going to adapt to the rules and play by the new rules. Finally, we all know that flopping is an exaggerated action during the game to draw attention to a perceived foul. The flop of the year, however, goes to James Madison's quarterback, Alonzo Barnett III, during the fourth quarter of Sunday's 30-7 season-opening win over Charlotte. Y'all got to look at this, man. Y'all got to check this out. When pushed after the play, look at Barnett right here after the play. Waved his hands in the air as he was dramatically falling to the ground, flipped over, got up, while he stumbled back to the ground in an exaggerated fashion. I mean, it was hilarious. A teammate pretended to resuscitate Barnett, who miraculously recovered and got back up. But here's the bottom line, y'all. It was funny as hell. Now, if the man was an acting class, the thespian that I am these days myself, I would say, hey, man, you need a few more lessons. But if you were trying to be a comedian, you damn sure pulled that off. Here's the side that's not so funny. When you exaggerate like that, then what's going to happen is the officials are going to take it out on you by following up with not giving you the calls you may deserve. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you try to provoke. Be careful because there might be cats on the other side of the field that act better than you and might pull it off a little bit better than that. But it was kind of funny. I will admit that. Let's go to the tweets before I get on out of here for today's show, right? Because we got a couple of tweets and y'all like to throw them in my direction, and I'm always here to oblige. So before I get on out of here, let me go this. At Snell SZN writes, Stephen A., do you prefer a hooded sweatshirt or a crew neck, and why? I think as we mature, we find the allure of a nice crew neck to be too much to ignore. I have found myself aging out of hoodies. Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, I am more prone to do it because I'm in better shape than I have been pretty much in the last 30 years. So I think I look relatively decent, and I don't mind the crew neck and all that stuff. The short thing. And the hood can end up getting in your way because it flops up and down and stuff like that and disrupts your rhythm to some degree. So, I mean, that might be a reason why I would ignore that. So you might have me there. I will tell you that the crew neck, as we mature, you're right. But the hoodies are cool, too. It depends. It depends on your style and how you think you look at something. I think that's how you handle that. I like to look good and feel good. I don't just want to feel good. I want to look good, too. So depending on how good I feel I'm looking, after I get out the gym, I'm looking a little tight, in shape, the whole nine, if crew neck, all right, fine. I'm about that. But if I don't feel I'm looking good, I ain't doing it. I'll go the hoodie route, cover my face a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Next tweet. Let's see what we got here. See what we got in this next tweet. I can't see who that's from writing me. At Chris Riley, right? Stephen A. Smith. Who would you be more nervous about stealing your girl, both in their prime? Doug or Arnold? That's what I have to be worried about. First of all, they both have a nose like me. So I guess that may make you say I should be nervous about both of them. Now, one is bald-headed. Another dude has a hairdo like my boy Griff. I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. But but the one with the bald head, or seemingly with the bald head, assuming there's a tree behind him, unless that's really his hair, that's wild. I mean, he looks a bit older. The younger, skinny one with the wild hairdo, I guess you'd have to say it's Arnold. I guess I'd have to say him, but in reality, I'm not fearing anybody. You know, I'm kind of one of those I wouldn't say cocky, but very, very confident dudes. If you don't want me, step aside. There's somebody else who will. That's how I roll. That's how I roll. So I don't walk around with fear. You understand? Grass ain't green on the other side. We say it ain't always green on the other side. Let me sound a little bit cocky with this. Most of the time, it ain't green on the other side if you comparing them to me. I got that kind of confidence. Yes, I do. When I'm on my game. Now, if I don't want you, if I'm not enthused by you, if I'm not incentivized to want you, to please you, or whatever the case may be, you might have me. But if I want you, and I'm incentivized to please you, okay, and I'm bringing my A game, I'm one of those dudes that don't believe there's too many people on the planet who's better. So I don't walk around with fear. I just don't. And oh, by the way, just as an aside, women outnumber men by an awful lot. I don't know whether it's 17 to 1, 20 to 1, 25 to 1, whatever the number was as of late. But there's options. Now, if you got a good one, hold on to it. But if you don't, and you single, you take care of yourself, you're healthy, you're confident, fear not. Fear not. Trust me. Last tweet of the show. Give it to me. What you got? At Drees Abiz, or Dreezabz, writes, hey, Stephen A. Smith, my girlfriend is threatening to break up with me because my farts are too pungent. I told her that if we were to have a future together, she should get used to it. She's blocked me since. So should I go apologize? First of all, yes, for being an ignorant ass. That might be the dumbest nonsense that ever came out of your mouth. That's just stupid. Like, look, let me confess. On occasion, I might pass gas, but I apologize and say, excuse me. You understand what I'm saying? If my girl's around. It's not often. You understand what I'm saying? But damn it, when it happens, I apologize. I'm sorry, babe. I couldn't get to the bathroom in time. I mean, that's it. You don't sit up there and act like she's just supposed to take it as normal. And then on top of it all, she said it smells, it stinks. That's bad. You understand? There's things that you two, you know, you're intimate with one another. She don't want to smell you uncomfortably. That's just nasty. How would you feel if you smelled her? How would you feel if she did it? At some point in time, man, we got to let go of the machismo and be a bit more delicate, a bit more sensitive, a bit more compromising and reasonable. What if your woman was passing gas and it smelled? Would you want her the same? Would you feel as proud? Would you be as enthused and as interested? Come on, man. So, of course, you should apologize. Here's my worry for you. Here's my worry. Here's my concern. She blocked you. Now, usually I don't quote R. Kelly because I thought his ass needed to be under the jail with the stuff he did. And I'm no supporter of his. But now that he in jail, where he belongs, I can bring him up and be more comfortable with it. When a woman's fed up, there ain't nothing you can do about it. It's the truest thing he said. When a woman is done with your ass, she done. That's true. Her coming back and forth when she's not done, but you pushing her off is different. Her still wanting you, but accepting the fact that you don't want her is different. But when she says, I'm done with your ass, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Because one of two things happen when a woman is done with you. Either she doesn't believe you're good enough and you're worth it anymore, or she's found somebody better, which means you ain't good enough and worth it anymore. Either way you slice it, you ain't good enough and worthy anymore. And a usual indication of that is when she blocks your number. She could have simply just hung up and not returned your call. No, she blocked you. That means she don't want to hear from you. That relationship might be a wrap, my brother. I hope you're good with your farts. I hope that's keeping you warm at night. Because from the looks and the sounds of it based on your tweet, she damn sure ain't going to be around to do it. You brought it on yourself. You brought it on yourself. That's it for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Thanks again to the wonderful Nancy Lieberman for coming on the show and breaking down the whole Caitlin Clark situation, the WNBA, Sheryl Swoopes, and everything in between. Thank you so much to the wonderful Nancy Lieberman for coming on to the show. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. I may have, it's not finalized yet, but I may have a special surprise for you for Wednesday's show that I'm bringing to you over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. A wonderful, wonderful surprise. Something that you might not expect. I simply end by asking y'all this question. Who's the last person in the world you expect to see sitting across from Stephen A. Smith for a one-on-one interview? Think about that. Wrap yourself up in that for a little bit. Wrap a taste on it. And you'll find out Wednesday. Until then, this is Stephen A. signing off. Peace and love, everybody. God bless.